If you've followed the channel for a while, you may have noticed a significant decline in the number of painting videos on the channel. There are a number of reasons for this: the relatively high effort involved in making such videos, the time spent creating other content, etc. But in truth, I just haven't felt as motivated to paint over the last 12 months, especially on camera, as I have in the past. I've always believed that motivation in a hobby is something you probably shouldn't force. After all, this isn't life and death. There is no shame in deciding you don't want to paint miniatures, or that other parts of the tabletop hobby are more interesting to you, even if that hasn't been your position in the past. But having spent much of January re-establishing painting as part of my routine, I've rediscovered what my heart already knew: that painting miniatures is something that I both enjoy and has positive impacts on my mental health. You might think the next step should be easy. After all, I did some years ago now create a video on keeping painting resolutions, with tips on maintaining a positive habit when it comes to painting, or frankly anything else you might want to do more often. As a video, it probably shows its age, but as hobby advice goes, I think it's probably one of my better videos, and I certainly still stand behind my own advice. But I want to try something new, an experiment if you will, and I want to invite all of you along for the ride. I want to break some of my old rules and try a different method of motivating myself to paint consistently. That's why I'm challenging myself to paint 100 miniatures during the next year. And if you're thinking, Victor, surely this was a good idea for a January video, New Year's resolutions and all that? Then you're right. But I didn't know that this was something I wanted to do at the start of the year. It seems to me to be particularly self-defeating to lock yourself into a particular time of year to make changes to your routines. I've identified something I want to change, so now is the time to do it. I think I should make clear what this challenge is and what it is not before we go further. Firstly, the aim of this challenge is to reintegrate painting into my weekly routine. The number of miniatures painted really isn't the most important thing. I know this sounds like I'm unravelling the challenge before I even start. Why even call it the 100 miniatures challenge if that's the case? Why not just call it the Paint More challenge? The balance I'm trying to strike is this: if I make it all about the number, the task will become a chore in my mind rather than something I look forward to doing. Conversely, if I don't set a goal at all, something tangible to guide how much time and effort to put into this challenge, then inevitably it will take a backseat to other things. It is not only possible, but likely that I won't paint 100 miniatures. The challenge isn't to meet that goal, it's to make a serious attempt to achieve that goal. Secondly, this isn't about completing specific projects or even painting particular miniatures. As tempting as it is to say I'll paint a full Mythic Battles core set, or I'll finish an army for X faction, I know myself well enough to know this will also be counterproductive. Instead, I will paint whatever it is in my heart to paint at any given moment. It's not as if I don't have enough options sitting around the place. Hopefully this will prevent me from procrastinating over miniatures I find intimidating or wasting too much time coming up with new colour schemes. If something is too much, or I need more thinking time, I can just move on. Lastly, whilst I certainly hope this will result in more painting videos on the channel, with some planned very soon as it happens, I don't intend that every model I paint as part of this challenge will have a dedicated video. I want the freedom to tackle anything at all from my collection, without considerations as to possible view counts. That said, I'm open to inspiration. No promises, but if there's a particular painting video you'd like to see, either a particular technique, colour scheme, or just a particular model from the games we have featured that you'd like to see me paint, then do let me know. They say every game needs rules, so what rules will I be following as part of this challenge? Rule 1. The rule of no compromise. 100 miniatures probably doesn't sound like very much to those more used to speed painting, but this isn't how I paint. I'm relatively slow and generally aim for an above tabletop standard. I do this because that's the type of painting that gives me the most satisfaction. Often that means painting single models and spending disproportionate time on projects. I don't intend to compromise any of that for this challenge. After all, part of the fun will be looking back on the 100 miniatures, hopefully, I have painted with satisfaction. This is not about productivity at all costs. Rule 2. The finish line rule. I have a number of miniatures that are partially painted to various degrees of completion. It would make no sense to ignore these projects for another year, and I won't be very motivated to complete them if they don't contribute to my goal. Clearly the work I do on such projects should be more than a coat of varnish, but as a general rule, even if a model was already started before the challenge began, as long as I've worked on and completed a miniature this year, it will count towards my total. Rule 3. Gimli's Rule. I'm not going to start bargaining with myself over the size or complexity of the models I paint. Some models might be quite simple and quick to paint, others might be larger models that take longer to complete. I might also choose to paint pieces of scenery or gaming accessories that don't fit neatly into a model count. Regardless, each single miniature will count as precisely that. Remember, the number I achieve is not strictly the point. Rule 4. The base rule. Whether a simple sandy base or something more complex, all miniatures must have fully painted bases to count towards the challenge, unless for whatever reason I'm painting something that doesn't have a base. Rule 5. The rule of accountability. Whether I paint 100 miniatures or a dozen miniatures, in roughly 1 year's time I will post a video featuring the miniatures I managed to complete, presenting the final count, and discussing whether I think the challenge was positive or not. Again, the challenge isn't really about the final number, but did I manage to improve my relationship with this part of the hobby? Would I do it again? Painting content on this channel has always been about progress and trying new things, not whether I succeed or fail. So if I fail, I'll be sure to share that with you all. Of course, the best thing about this challenge is the opportunity to share it with you, our viewers. It would be great if some of you wanted to join me. If and only if this seems like something that will genuinely motivate you, rather than make you feel burdened or have negative consequences if you fail to meet your target, I invite you to let us know in the comments of this video that you intend to take up the challenge. You should absolutely set your own target. 100 miniatures might be simply unobtainable in your current circumstances, or it might be far below what you typically achieve in a year. So set your own number. Likewise, set your own rules. If you want to add extra stipulations or relax some of the rules I've set for myself, feel free. The only rule that I recommend following is that of accountability. Post your intent in the comments of this video and, in a year's time, let us know in the comments of the follow-up video how you got on and whether you found the challenge to be motivational or not. In this way, we can all share perspectives, tips, and hopefully learn from each other. For the avoidance of confusion, some of the models you're watching me paint in this video will count towards my final total. I don't want to wait until this video has been edited to start the challenge after all, and it will take me a little time to edit the follow-up video next year. Likewise, you can decide when your own challenge begins. If you're watching this in June, don't feel like you've missed the opportunity to join in. If you want to see how I'm getting on, I'll post some of the miniatures I paint on my Instagram page, which you can find here. If the miniatures are related to upcoming videos, I might not post them the moment they are completed, but it will still be a preview of how well or poorly I am getting on. So that's it, Gauntlet Thrown. Let us purge the grey in righteous paint. If that's not motivational enough for you, there are lots of other painting and hobbying videos on the channel to explore. Why not enjoy this tutorial on crafting and painting Tartarus Cage scenery for Mythic Battles Pantheon? Or see me flail right outside of my comfort zone, painting Lorelei from Super Fantasy Brawl. Or chuck on one of our narrative playthroughs as background entertainment while you work on your latest hobby project. Whatever your hobby goals and interests, we'd love you to stick around. Well, I think it's pretty clear that I have some painting to do. I'll look forward to sharing my hobby progress with you soon, but in the meantime, as always, let me remind you to work hard, play better, and take care out there.